not know what to say. It left me sort of startled and confused. Red lips and white makeup and those big old red shoes. But my daddy tore a knot in me for being so damn rude. He said, son, don't you know that clowns are people too? Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say, but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. I started watching Bozo and warmed to the movie It. Killer Clowns from Outer Space to me was a big hit. Some people like McDonald's because of Mayor McCheese, but Ronald is my homeboy now, and Krusty and Pinky. Clowns are people too. Big red shoes. Clowns are people too. Don't be rude. If you weren't a bit lucky, then this could easily be you. I met your mom when she was up on that old trapeze. What can I say, but hey, I had a thing for circus freaks. Clowns are people too. Clowns are people too. Now I own some tiny horns and got me those red shoes. I don't know much, but know one thing that's true. If you don't know anything, just know that clowns are people too.
Welcome to Inside the Gamecocks, the show, part of the Chief Sports Network.
Mad Dog's upstate raised and reared up near the tater patch. He flirted with that upstate team, now bleeds garnet and black. It's been almost 2 decades since JC started Big Spur. He may live outside of Chicago, but he's all Spartanburg. It's the show, the Gamecock Show. ITG, Phil and JC, it's the show. It's fun and entertainment, but also information, things you cannot get on radio. It's the show. Gather around, all you Gamecocks, it's the show. The show. Let's go. JC and Mad Dog Mully on the Gamecock Show.
We are putting the house band to work. It is Inside the Gamecocks, the show, live now with you from noon until 2. Phil Mullinax here, JC Shurburtt with me. We are in. We got Gamecock hoops. We got recruiting news and information coming out. Saw Coach Beamer up here in the up country yesterday. Probably a smart move with all the stupid snow that was going on down in the low country. Nice opposites snow weather up here. It is completely dry and cold, I will say. Kind of like you up there in Chicago. Not quite as cold. We do have 2 digits, not just one. But yeah, it was weird last night. I was
no digit, dude.
No digit? Oh, are we zero or
negative? Negative's been negative. Nah, it's supposed to get up to a balmy 23 today. So.
Oh yeah, well, I'll break out tank tops.
At some point, the Queen of the Cocks chimes in. It's 2 degrees in Missouri. Missouri gets cold as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some point, like a few years ago when I first moved up here, when it was 40 and sunny, my back porch, I don't know why it's 10 degrees hotter back there than the front of the house, and the sun. I mean, the back porch faces south, so it's not like the sun's rising that way or anything, but it's just warmer back there. There were days I'd put on shorts and fire up the grill at 45 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's that cold. Your body gets used to it, and then that's warm. So, yeah, but lots going on, Phil. Thanks for the bringing us in there. I'll just get right to the Nanas Porch Chat Box. When I said the Queen of the Cocks said that, that's what I'm talking about, because I forget that a lot of folks just listen, and they don't know what the hell you're talking about. Who is the Queen of the Cocks? That sounds interesting. But
it's not a character we have created.
Yeah, Nanas Porch Chat Box. Latte Lance is in the chat box too. What up, killers? Good to hear from you, Lance. And heard there's a lot of snow over your way too down there. And Kreger points out what I talked about yesterday: gigantic cock, 1975.
That's right. Coming to a message board near you.
There's just so much you can do with the mascot.
Oh yeah,
or the abbreviated mascot. And Clint talks about my tidbits on the Big Spur recruiting. Clint had some things I'd like, just from talking to people. It's been like over the last 2 weeks, just kind of collected it. It was not worth, but everybody wants to start talking about 2026 recruiting now in football, because you have junior day visits. Heck, they'd already had one. And they got canceled because of weather. And then you got weather again. So who knows? But they're in on some really good players. And when you put it all together and kind of look at it, Phil, it's a nice group so far, according to the players we know about. I'll remind everybody, there was one point where Deuce Knight, 5-star quarterback, going to Auburn, and Caleb Cunningham, the 5-star receiver, going to Ole Miss, from both guys from Mississippi, we're favoring Gamecocks during one of these winter periods. So it never really works out, like who you got on the hot board in December. But there's enough information out there to say, to at least tell everybody this is what's, this is kind of where it stands now, right? And I mean, you look at, I don't know why our folks don't update the database 24/7. You look at the database, I went through and updated all those guys, and I'm like, well, that's just worthless to look at. Everybody's cold. There's at least some guys. One guy I did not mention was Adams. I think Adams is his name. Was it Adams? I wrote it down, Bill. Number 2 corner in the country per 24/7 Sports for 2026. He's from Towson, Maryland. Torian Gray was by the school. Based on right now, again, this is right now, I think the Gamecocks are top 2 with Penn State. They probably trail Penn State a little, I think, but that's a player almost quietly the Gamecocks have been working on. I expect them to get him on campus for a visit pretty soon. Torian Gray, you just never know. And then, of course, if you want to dream, then dream out loud. That's a U2 song called Acrobat. But anyway, if you can dream a little bit, getting him and Samari Matthews at corner would be something good. Yeah, Khary Adams, Khary, from Loyola Blakefield in Towson, Maryland. 24/7 Sports has him number 37 in the country, number 2 at corner. I'll roll Composite and tell you what Composite thinks about this guy, because that's important. I think more important than Composite, probably not as high. That Matthews, the 5th rated corner in the country, Samori, and then Adams is on down the list at 16. So he's an outlier for 24/7 Sports, but he's a 6'2" corner. Not surprising. You draw. Torian Gray loves height, length, and doesn't sacrifice speed to do it, but he is a guy I did not mention in my tidbits today, Khary Adams, and I think the Gamecocks can go up there and win another battle for a good cornerback. So anyway, I think I'll get back, Clint, to some of your thoughts on Jared Curtis, the quarterback, the 5-star guy, and all that. But I prefer to this Rodney Colton Jr. thing. I talked about this on coffee this morning, kind of 10 minutes, and just gave my opinion on it. And basically, you can't mess around anymore with these guys. Like, and this happens, unfortunately, sometimes with players that commit early. And that's why I've never, hey, it's nice to get a commit from a good player, before he starts his junior year. But unless it's an in-state player or a quarterback, it's tough to stick because you don't know who else is out there that probably wasn't even talking to them before, that talks to them, that they've always liked. You don't know how they're going to, because I can assure you, if they're out of state, teams are going to try to flip them from South Carolina, even if they're in state sometimes. And I'll say this too. I'll take it a step further. If they're committed to Georgia, teams are going to flip them. That's the way it is. You commit early, everybody's coming after you. And so Colton, first of all, this is not like something new that just popped up when he's gotten these offers this winter. He was at Tennessee 2 or 3 times visiting, 3 or 4 times. Tom Loy put a crystal ball in for him to flip to the balls.
Yeah.
He's out there. I don't know what happened with him in Tennessee. Tennessee may have moved on too. He gets all these offers from everybody and starts and it's not just, hey, thanks for the offer. It's like promoting, oh God, I can't believe I'm just so blessed to get this offer from a big time program. And I don't, I think South Carolina, for a player that's, good, has work to do, 4-star guy, like to have him, not a bad player. But there's a lot of guys like that around, that you can find. You just don't need the headache. It's kind of the same kind of philosophy with money. I mean, and NIL and overpaying and all that, though this is much more traditional. This has been going on for years. Schools are just like, oops, sorry, we're getting out of this. And that's fine. That's the Gamecocks' right to do. Like I said, I'm not going to play the game where I sit there and say he's dropped because he's not as good or whatever. I'm not going to say, I think he's good. I liked him when I committed him as a player. I like him now. That changed. Fine. But a nice guy to have. But there's a disrespect factor that comes into play. And this is the downfall. This is what's good and bad about social media because, I guess recruiting's a lot like dating in a way. You can catch the cheaters pretty easily with social media these days, especially when it's blatant. I think when all the social media first started to come out, there were probably some people that cheated. They got caught just because they didn't know what they were doing. Right. So this is there's probably people out there like that. I would think, and I'm talking about the people that it was when Facebook was really new and they friended. All of a sudden you got a friend, your friend requests are all public and all your friends are public. And here comes the hot chick you went to high school with. And she shares a photo of here. Remember when we went to prom and you love it, and your wife's like, whoa. I'm sure people have called. I mean, I'm sure social media is before everybody got a handle on privacy, everybody did. But now, recruits don't give a flip. They don't care. They're just like, I mean, I think with the way everything is, everybody recruit, you can't have, and I'm going to say this too about recruiting. It used to be, oh, they're just kids. Let them have their moment. This only comes around once in a lifetime. It's special. Like it was the damn prom or graduation or something. Like it was an entitlement. And everybody played along. Because nobody wants to upset the apple cart, right? Because recruiting is trying to convince players to come to your school. That's how we get talent in college football. Now, there's different ways to convince, but it's all about convincing. And so it used to be we just put up with it. Oh, these are just kids. It's all fun and games. I don't think even from our standpoint you should put up with it anymore. These guys are getting paid. Now,
Yeah.
I don't think you go pro athlete on these guys and call them bums and names and stuff like that. And that's simply because you have to understand that this is still the minor leagues. Even from a money standpoint, it is, but even further, it's a development thing. They're not pros yet. They're still, and they got to come in and work and get better. And you want to give a guy with upside and talent a chance to do that with your program. And so if you have a bunch of fans that say they get paid, so because of my feelings, I can get on social media and tee all guys and be toxic and verbally abusive to them, their family, whoever. No, that's wrong. That's called being psychotic. Okay. Because your desire and your emotional insecurity that leads to you sending recruits public messages and, on Facebook with your real name on it, or, they're not on Facebook anymore, but on Instagram and Twitter, especially, your need to fulfill that void in your life is not important enough to kind of wreck relationships with the entire fan base. And I'm speaking to a very small minority that's out there. Stop tweeting bullcrap to recruits and stop trashing players. I mean, Lenore Sellers got trashed last year,
which is ridiculous.
And one of these days it's going to cost a game player because some of these guys don't really, Lenore's and a lot of players understand it's just a vocal minority. They walk in the stadium, they know. Some of these guys that are like really into social media, I'm not talking about a bad way, they're going to think it's real life and they won't be correct with it. They're going to leave. And then they'll find out at the next school there's probably a lot more psychopaths on Twitter. But that's it's been an issue a couple of times around here. But I think it's an issue at every school, and I'm speaking generally. But back to Colton. So he on social media was just like this, that, and the other. And it's like, hey, you go through all this crap with him about the Tennessee visit and all that. And are you good? Are you good? At some point, you got to believe what people show you instead of what they tell you. I think that's true in life as well.
For sure.
Right, Phil? His actions on social media, like circumvent his work. So they said, Hale and I both got a message last night, like, we're moving on because screw this guy. We're going home. I mean, and look, I think that more and more you have to do that these days, Phil, because there's so many players out there, and there's a lot more talent out there that's available in a given cycle with the portal, with the lower number of high school players schools recruit and sign, like an Ole Miss. They're not going to sign very many high school players. Well, that takes what? Normally they're signing 25, 30. Well, Houston signed 39 one time.
Right.
And it caused the Big Ten to have a I don't want to call it a Gen Z freak out, but it was like a Gen Z TikTok freak out when they freaked out about oversigning.
It was a crash out for sure.
It was trash. But so that takes there's other schools that they like to go portal 15, 20 players. And so there's that. Then there is the portal itself. And then there is to quote Moneyball, 50 feet of crap. And that's your guys that are good, but that somebody somewhere thought they were good and they live it on rep. Most of these guys are like in the portal they end up in the portal 3 or 4 times, or in high school, they want to get paid right away. I mean, there's just a ton of that out there that you have to sit through because it's not recognizable crap, Phil.
Right.
It's like Caddyshack when the Baby Ruth candy bar went in the pool. What was the reaction? Well, it's a Baby Ruth.
Yeah.
Or like Eddie Murphy, that's not furniture. That's not furniture. It's but no, you can't always tell. I mean, and the smarter staffs are going to be the ones that win in the portal era, and the dumber ones, like at Florida State last year, I use that as an example, they took about 50 feet of crap into their program, and you saw what happened. Now, is South Carolina ever going to bring someone into their program that's maybe borderline? I can't. No, I mean, you can't back 1,000. There have been guys Beamer's brought in that left, but they were good players. Some of them are, some of them weren't. Is this going to be the right move with every high school player? Absolutely not. You know, it's always a value proposition, as Mad Dog says. It's always, how much can I tolerate you? How good are you?
Right.
You know, with that. And I think a lot of it too kind of depends on where you're from and what you play and all that good stuff. So, but when Colton crossed the line after they went through all that, you know, so now he's wide open. Goonie Goo Goo Gus, Craig says from the chat box. His offer was pulled. South Carolina's no longer recruiting him. They've gone. And so we will see kind of how things go with him. You know, I think maybe if he wants to go to Tennessee, call it Tennessee, see if they'll take him. Who knows?
Yeah. What it was the verbiage though, JC, that I wanted to ask about, because I think Hale used what was it as a placeholder commitment is how Colton was treating it. What is that? Is that, to me, it read as South Carolina had him an offer and he was just using it to say, hey, I've already got a big time offer from South Carolina. How about you show me what you can do when he's out there courting other teams like Tennessee? Is that what placeholder meant in that situation? And that it's just like,
I mean, again, it's a lot like dating,
right? Look what I pulled. Hey,
or like, yeah, you know, I don't know how much longer this is going to last, but you know, here it is. It's gonna, you know, sometimes you wake up and it's 4 years, and thank God you decide to go to your friend's wedding. 4 years have passed, and you're like, wow. But anyway, no. Placeholder is it's an interesting term, and he'll probably used the correct term there. I see it more as it's probably a placeholder. You know, just to be honest, you're with one team, but you haven't shut it down, and there's no commitment there. I mean, the word commitment, is not you. They say it's a reservation, so to speak. But I think that with the way everything's skewed towards players these days, Phil, that's the one thing coaches can do. It's still a free country. You can drop whoever you want. You can rescind offers. There's nothing binding. And I would just, I think they made the right move, you know, because if you just decide to preemptively end it and move on, and then again, kind of like dating, the optics are better than if you have a kid out there that's like really not going to come. And I haven't thought Colton would end up in this class in a while, and it's because of everything that was happening with other visits, and then the social media stuff. I see him on social media all the time, just talking up other schools and liking other schools' stuff, and clearly his mind and heart. I mean, he's not just clearly he's not just a lover of all college football programs. Right. There was no commitment there. And he's kind of a prospect that not every school is all that fired up about. Offers and stuff. There's a lot of offers going out right now. So what happens when he flips on you and he kind of goes to a team that maybe you're not, you should beat in recruiting, and then your fan base and everybody else is they're like, well, they can't recruit, losing players. Oh my God, So if he's going to decommit, and I felt strongly he was. I felt strongly it was just a matter of time. Surprised he hadn't done it already. I've never penciled him in the class at this point. It's not just based on his social media, but that gives you a big hint. But things I've heard, things like that. But I never penciled him in. So it's better to just head it off. Just let it go. So we'll see we'll see where he ends up. Best of luck. Hope it's not on the schedule if he ends up being good. But again, about 80% of these guys that treat their recruitment like this never pan out. There have been some good players through the years. Latique Townsend, you may remember Latique Townsend, played at Marlboro County. Loved his film. One of the most instinctive linebackers I've seen. Clemson got him over the Gamecocks. I went in the stands to sign an autograph during the game. Recruitment was just completely wild all over the map. Ryan Bartow and I still talk about Latique Townsend. We celebrate his birthday every year. Just because it was the wildest. Like him and Sam Montgomery kind of came along around the same time. Now, Sam went to LSU and did well. But Sam also, really, when it came down to his decision, like what he did basically was probably a little dishonest to John Blake at North Carolina. Because it looked like North Carolina, but then, I'm going to go to LSU. Now, that stuff happens. Oregon may be sitting there talking like that about Nick Harbor. I mean, Nick obviously is a much more grounded, accomplished individual than Sam Montgomery was coming out of Greenwood. Sam had a personality. I loved the kid. He was one of my favorite kids to talk to, hang out with. It's funny, Phil, because Greenwood had Sam Montgomery, Kelsey Quarles, and DJ Swearinger all on the same football team.
Jeez.
Dude, you want to know about personalities. Sam had such a personality, it overshadowed what DJ Swearinger was going to become at the time. DJ was kind of the silent type.
Hard to think, right?
So there you go. And Sam panned out, but he wasn't like all over the map like a Latique. There was a kid on the West Coast. I don't remember. He ended up at UCLA, and then I think just football after a year. Committed to like 5 different schools. Like it was Oregon, it was SC, it was UCLA. But I didn't think he was a 4-star. Watching him in person because I was traveling at the time on film. Had some upside. I understood why he had the offers. He had a long way to go in college. Never thought the juice was worth the squeeze. And I'll still remember Greg Biggins, who works for us, late on signing day from the West Coast. So-and-so has signed with UCLA. Unbelievable. Thus ends one of the strangest recruitments ever. And he didn't go very far. I mean, and there's so many guys like that you can kind of tell. And why it is they're not bad people, or they're not they just don't grasp the fact that everybody has to work in this game to get better. Mm-hmm. There's very few guys that are as good as they are going to be. And this is why the NFL is riding high. They have free minor league in college football that develops everybody for them, right? And so very few in football, even the good ones. Even Jeremiah Smith can get better. How about that? I know he's really good this year. Jeremiah Smith can get better. His runway is shorter than everybody else. It's a Himalayan runway. In some ways,
right off the edge of the cliff.
Yeah, it's a Himalayan runway in some ways. But the vast majority of these guys we're talking about, they've got a ways to go. I mean, they have to. I mean, it was crazier back in the day. There was only 5 official visits. That kid with the UCLA, none of his official visits were to UCLA. He just signed and went at the end and then quit. But so. They don't understand that because they're so in love with the recruiting process. They love it. Mm. And look, I love it too. We all do. And if I were a recruiter, I really like because I'm 18, 17 years old and I think I've arrived. And now with social media, you don't just have organizations like 24/7 Sports and ESPN and Rival writing articles about you, which is really cool, was really cool in and of itself. Mm-hmm. Right. For kids back then. Oh, look at this article about me, man. That's great. People care. That's great. Now you have social media and you have the peanut gallery from every fan base tweeting at you. You can rack up massive followers. They're loving your highlights and all that. So look, I get it. I get it. It's like it's like Macaulay Culkin. Home Alone was outstanding, man.
That's right. He turned that into a few other movies. Yeah.
But come on, he didn't become the only one that survived the child actor there. The one of the only ones is DiCaprio.
Yeah.
And he has probably
He
more
managed.
Scorsese to thank for that. But
Right.
and I think his parents were there. Anyway, we can go on with child actors all day. But I mean, it just I've just known through the years that most of the time, and I don't know, Rodney Colton Jr. may be an All-American. We all may be sitting there going, well, maybe they should have taken the insults.
Should have just put up with the antics.
Just put up with it. We may be sitting there saying that. I have my doubts, but statistically, through my experience covering a lot of players, the guys that sort of love recruiting, it's hard. And then nowadays, it used to be you get a guy in there, you got to de-recruit him, and it may take a year. He may have a red shirt. By the time the second year rolls around, he's either with the program or you're processing him. That's how it goes. Now, if they don't like it in spring practice and you're trying to de-recruit them, they can jump in the portal free of charge and get re-recruited all over again. It's like cocaine.
It is, man. It is. It's a
Krager
drug.
says,
I mean, that attention.
Jason Bateman. Was Jason Bateman a child actor?
Yeah, he
or was he
did,
just in
family? I know he did. He did a few things as a kid.
There you go. Those are the outliers.
That's right.
I mean, there's a lot of child acting. I mean, that's why. Yeah, that's why Miley Cyrus went from a darling that sung "Party in the USA" to like what?
Yeah.
How about Lindsay Lohan? How about Lindsay? I mean, we could go through a bunch of them. How about Arnold? How about Emmanuel Lewis? I'm sorry, he was 40 years old when he played Webster. He was.
He was. I know.
Webster. Emmanuel was 47 years old.
He might have been as old as Papadopoulos.
George Papadopoulos. That's the most Chicago last name ever. It doesn't end in an
yeah.
Papadopoulos. So Alex Carr. Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. So but anyway, you see my point. And look, I wish Rodney Colton Jr. the best, but I think South Carolina, it's weird come the heels of we're not going to pay this money for these receivers. And so now almost I understand everybody out there's probably like, are we being a little too puritanical around here?
Yeah.
Are we being a little bit too like haughty? Are we being haughty?
Haughty. When 9 games, look at
that's what
changed.
I hope that's what haughty is. We won again. Remember the Mike Lee Trent? We think, oh God, we went 9-4 one time.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo. No, that's not it. It's just all happening at once. So it's a philosophy, and it'll happen again. For sanity, I wish it maybe take a little break on this because it gets hard to sit there and say, well, no, these aren't the same, and they're not just demanding loyalty, or they're
not demanding, but it's like you got to look at it from this before we hit the break. Like, okay, so you bring in a guy like this. Let's say he turns into an All-American, right? And so his demands year over year have to go up for retention, and then he's going to bail on you because he's not in the boat right now. You developed him to be as good as he could, but if somebody's going to, that's the kid that you target that $500,000 is going to swipe him away from your roster. Like more than what you're giving him in NIL. It's gonna be tough. It's tough to keep a kid like that.
I don't know very many linebackers that are worth half a million. I mean, but no, he's the guy that's going to hold you hostage and threaten the league every semester. And then, hey, look, there have been players where I'm not going to name any names. Players last couple of years that have done essentially that. They're not on the roster anymore, but I mean, I wouldn't call it hold the program hostage, but every year it's like over and the top demands. And then there's one guy, it's awesome. He would come with a number, and it was like way different than what he actually got.
Right.
And but then he just agreed to the second number. Okay, cool.
Okay.
I'm in.
Yep.
It was like 400 or 80.
Yeah.
And those aren't exact numbers. I mean, you're not going to ever guess. I'm never going to tell you who I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, but that's the best negotiation ever. How about 400? How about no? How about 80? Okay.
Oh, sure.
So anyway, Craig adds Quinshad Judkins did that. All right, we're going to get a break in. Don't forget to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel. We're almost to 8,000, I think. So
we're over
799. Oh, we got it. We crossed the line.
That's right.
Well,
we're pushing 10. We want to get 10 here soon.
Pushing 10. That's not a good movie, by the way.
No.
It's about air traffic control.
Yeah.
My friend Skipper hates that one. Anyway, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll be back right after this. The show, sponsored by Tony Pope State Farm Insurance, coming back on the other side.
Hey, this is Cornbread Cowboy, and you're listening to the show. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Joel Lurie. If you're turning 65 this year or retiring soon, you probably have questions about Medicare. How do I enroll in Medicare? When do I need to enroll? And what plan fits my needs and budget?
Why use an out-of-state call center when you can work with a local agency?
At Lurie Life and Health, we'll research your doctors and prescription drugs, and we'll help you find the plan that meets your needs and budget.
Lurie Life and Health. Our service is at no cost. Call Lurie Life and Health in Columbia, 803-256-2067.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more. Welcome to Palm Casual Patio Furniture. Because we are the factory, Palm Casual has the ability to offer the highest quality outdoor furniture paired with world-class service. Since 1979, our factory showrooms have done our best to make the buying process as easy as possible for our customers. Our understanding of the many factors that go into your decision has helped us create our 30-day trial period that increases the level of comfort our customers feel during the shopping experience. Visit us in Somerville, Mount Pleasant, Myrtle Beach, and Bluffton, and online at palmcasual.com for our products and out-of-state locations. Go Gamecocks! Welcome home. That's what the Gamecocks say, and so does nationally recognized the Barndominium Company, where they are building dream homes in the Carolinas, Georgia, and Tennessee. Their turnkey process can be custom designed and takes 6 months on average. Make your dream a reality. Visit thebarndominiumco.com, thebarndominiumco.com.
One brand. 2 shows. The morning show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon. And the show from noon until 2 p.m. Go Gamecocks!
Welcome back in, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show. Phil Mullinax and JC Shurburtt here with you, taking you all the way to 2 o'clock. Did you know, JC, that Jason Bateman is currently married to Paul Anka's daughter?
No.
I didn't either. I pulled it up here. His first role was on Little House on the Prairie. And then I just looked at IMDb, and it was like Jason Bateman has been enjoying a family life with his wife, actress Amanda Anka, daughter of singer Paul Anka.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think Jason Bateman does good work. But Clint I knew this. I knew somebody would do it in the Nanas Porch Chat Box. Clint roll, because I had the visual in my head.
Yes.
Because it's hard, sometimes when you get older, things start kind of getting confused. By the way, I had to apologize to the audience on coffee this morning that I've been dropping the ball with names lately, and I used to be very good with that. So I apologize. I mean, really seriously, I owe you guys an apology because that's not me. I don't think there's any neurological problems or anything, hopefully, but I've just noticed that it's probably more like getting busy and not prepping like I should, winging it, so to speak. And that's lazy, and I shouldn't have done that. So I'm sorry. However, your brain kind of goes to mush. And so I almost said before the break, Jason Bateman, child actor. I was like, well, what did he do besides Family Ties? Well, I don't think he was on Family Ties, but his sister was.
Right. Justine. Yeah.
Justine Bateman. She was Mallory, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. She was Mallory on Family Ties, but he did. So
here's where the mush, right?
Here's where the mush happens, Phil, because Clint brought this up. They made a Teen Wolf 2. The first Teen Wolf was Michael J. Fox.
That's right.
The second Teen Wolf was Jason Bateman.
That's right.
So you see with the siblings and the Teen Wolfing and the Michael J. Fox and the Jello pudding pop. Yeah, that kind of thing. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's
it all gets like
weird.
just tossed around in there.
Matt
Careful
said,
with that movie take though, Clint, man. You might have to watch her Back in My Neighborhood at Halloween next year if my wife sees that. So hopefully she's not watching because she would take umbrage with Teen Wolf 2 being a terrible movie.
I need to shut up then.
Of course, listen, you know her. She's a sucker for anything, B-rate 80s movies.
I'll be honest, I watched it. I've watched it a handful of times. I've watched it a near handful of times, Phil.
I can't imagine how many times I've seen it.
Clint had a huge crush on Justine Bateman when he was a young lad. Hell, I still do.
You are not alone.
Give me Justine Bateman and Marissa Tomei.
Yeah.
They're both getting on up there, but
Silver Spoons was the one, Jason Bateman.
I forgot about Silver Spoons.
Yeah.
With Ricky Schroeder.
Yeah, I gotta get off of that.
What's Ricky Schroeder doing these days? Is he still alive? It's gonna be sad when he goes.
Oh well, so let's don't kill anybody.
Matt says I'm losing my mind because of CTE for being the enforcer in 6th grade basketball. I kind of became more enforcer in 8th grade. In 6th grade, I was so tall. I was like the big man.
Yeah,
it's
that
like
was
John. It's like John Concack from,
just the biggest kid out there. Rebounds and blocks. That's all I was doing there for a couple of years. The last couple of years in basketball.
Yeah. Someone chimes in wondering what's unique about the Colton situation is that South Carolina not only drop his commitment, but also stop recruiting him. Usually when they decommits or chooses another school, we hear that Carolina's going to continue to recruit the player until the end. Well, he didn't decommit. This wasn't his idea.
Yeah, this was initiated.
South Carolina said, "Hey, you're done. We're out. See ya." Don't be thinking. Don't be thinking that. Don't be thinking that he just decided to decommit. He was emotional. They say emotional affair. I mean, this is so similar to dating.
Right.
He was emotionally decommitted already.
He'd already checked out.
He was emotionally decommitted. Krieger says facts of life. Blair, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, and a yes to you, my Krieger friend. That she was. Y'all are bringing back my childhood now. Thank you. For people that can't get names right, this is huge. Thank you.
That's right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You take you good, you take you bad. One time they had this thing where Axl Rose sung 80s theme songs. He's like, you take you good, you take you bad, you take them more than you had a vaccine.
Oh, that would be good.
That was
I have to find that.
Right. He said, what was so egregious about Colton's compared to other schools that he, all right. So we got a question in the Nanas Porch Chat Box. I'm sorry. I was just mumbling there. It's a follow-up. It says the commit wondering what was so egregious about his apparent interest in other programs that's leading South Carolina cut all ties with it. It happened over and over and over again and crossed the line into disrespect, and you're not going to continue to recruit somebody. Look, coaches don't have all day, every day to recruit. There's something called resources, and time is a resource. It shrinks on you, especially when you're coaching now and you got to re-recruit your whole roster. Why waste the time? Why waste the resources? Why waste the snacks during visits? Why waste anything? Why? I mean, it's not like, this is like recruiting isn't the auction or the swap meet or the flea market where you're just going through trying to sell. You have kind of a one-way deal. It works both ways. And the more time you're spending on a lost cause, the less time you can spend on a player that's just good or better, that, you may not make that extra phone call to, or you may not send that extra piece of mail to, or you may not know what his favorite snack is when he comes on campus and add a nice touch because you're busy dealing with this guy that's never going to come. In your opinion, right? This is all based on opinion and keys and stuff like that. So there's the deal. So Queen of the Cock says, just hop back in after what's dealing with Cisse. He's posting about getting offers from Navy. Thought he was ours. Are you talking about Brandon or his brother? Because Brandon's done. He's signed. So
yeah, I thought he had. Let's see. What's his brother?
No, I think it's his brother. His brother is a 2025 kid from Sumter.
Yeah.
So I don't know that Carolina was in on him at all. So
yeah, Cedric. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cedric. So that's the Navy offer.
Yeah.
So hopefully he gets Navy and all that good stuff. So that'll be outstanding. But yeah, that's the deal. It's okay, Queen. We understand. The Queen of the Cocks.
That's right. Chiming
in here in Nanas Porch Chat Box about Cisse, but it is his brother. So Craig says you got to watch Braylon Out Loud, the girl with Tourette's. I've heard some things about that. So I don't know. Clint asked a big picture question, Phil, and maybe you can chime in with regards to the NFL and kind of what you see on this, because I'm frankly interested in hearing what you have to say. Are the days of the stud running back over with? Yes and no. I mean, there's still some stud running back. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. In the NFL, especially, I think this year in the NFL, in college football, because last year you had the guy from Michigan. What was his name? Brandon. There we go. Names again. Running back from Michigan. That was really. I mean, you had.
No, that was Missouri. Oh my goodness. Boy, we're not having our best day today when it comes to names.
No.
What was
Gosh,
name?
I know he's from Virginia. It's Michigan. Blake Corum.
Corum. Yeah.
Thank you guys, Clinton, Queen of the Cox.
See, and he did make a roster.
Yeah, but he was very valuable to them in college football. Rocket Sanders very valuable to the Gamecocks this year. Phil Maffa at Clemson, when healthy, very valuable. I mean, they ran into some issues, and probably just started doing what they were needed to do anyway, and just throw it every down and run Klubnik to have an offense that rolling. But Maffa, I mean, so they're valuable, and that's on the college level. I believe on the college level, there's still a place for a stud running back. Are you ever going to see anybody carry the ball 30 times a game like we used to see? Probably not.
No.
Just because if you have a stud, believe it or not, college coaches, I mean, most college coaches care about their play getting to the next level because it helps you get more players, right? They care about that. I don't know that every high school coach cares about the kids getting to college football, but there's more high school coaches than college coaches, right? Bigger sample size. I get it. So, you look at it and kind of go, well, we're not going to run this guy 35 times because he's going to wear out, right? We need to recruit more backs behind him and split up the carries, which everybody does a pretty decent job of these days. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, will there ever be an Adrian Peterson again? Guy like that? I don't know. Blake Corum, ran for a lot of years, but they had another back at Michigan too. I mean, they everybody pretty much does. Georgia, their first national championship year, they had 4.
Right.
and used them masterfully. I thought, I've never seen a 4-man running back rotation work like that. All of the guys had different skill sets and strengths and weaknesses, but Todd Monken was in such a zone play calling wise, Phil. Mm-hmm. You never could tell what they were going to run based on their running backs, which was weird. You'd think you couldn't. That was what Ben called the death machine offense. That was crazy.
Machine offense. But I think that's where it's shifting too, is that at least at the NFL level, it's kind of similar to, it depends on the athleticism, I think, and the coordinator, right? If a guy just likes running that old school, put the fullback in, running up the middle, and some of them still do that. And some coordinators have these dogmatic adherences to the way they feel like it should be. These are the plays that we're going to call. I think Mike McCarthy is one of those, right? It was like, this is my set of plays, and this is what we're going to do. And, if it works, it works. And if not, it doesn't. And we just need to do it better. So, stud running back, I don't know. And coming out of high school, I think one of the things that kind of drives that is, Clint says there's less and less coming out. It's probably because you don't get that high profile next level, tier, right? Yeah. So, if you're going to go into the NFL, you might be a stud running back, but they're going to use you up until you're dead in that rookie contract period before they have to bring you on. You're going to have to be really good to get that next big money contract.
I know. And that's why the NFL, because what they'll do, they'll run a guy first years, or, if he's good enough, or they'll have a vet that doesn't require a huge second contract, or he's been on the practice squad for a couple of years. He's got fresh legs, and they'll say sayonara to the other back and go with the guy that's fresher and probably more productive in offense than, with the Bears, they're like, the Bears kind of did something different this year in signing DeAndre Swift, who honestly, man, I don't know. When he got in the open field, he was good.
Yeah.
But not every down back.
Yeah. One of the interesting teams is like the Lions, right? So you got David Montgomery, older back, compare that with Jahmyr Gibbs, younger back, still on that first deal, it's like you got your Sonic and Knuckles, your Thunder and Lightning kind of set up there. And it'll be interesting to see what that looks like, say, 2 seasons from now.
Yeah. You watch they'll cycle those guys through. Yep. The Bears are talking about trading. So there's one of those trade speculation articles, which I hate because it's not news. It's just some guy on a blog saying, what I would do if I were the Bears. And I'm like, I don't care.
Nobody.
I don't care what you I don't really care what you would do. Because the worst is some of the baseball. Anyway, we can talk about that this summer. But so the Bears, according to this writer, and it would be plausible, trade Swift and let Roshan Johnson, who was the team back.
Yeah, right.
It was David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, and Roshan was the very few carries goal line guy, but he's been productive. Well, he's worked his way up. That's the one spot in the NFL, Phil, where you can kind of sit, and then when your numbers call, you can pick up value. And so Clint mentions there's not stud running backs coming out of high school anymore. I don't know if there are or not. And I'll tell you why. Because the recruiting industry, and it's easy because the year we decided to do this at 24/7, I think was the 2014 class. And I think we had five-star running backs. But I'll tell you who they are. Joe Mixon, Leonard Fournette, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, and I think we had Royce Freeman that went to Oregon as a 5. Those are studs. Oh, and Derrick Henry, I believe, was the number 12, if I'm not mistaken. No, yep, number 12. Maybe he was 13. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe he was 13. No, Henry was 14. Derrick Henry was listed as an athlete, though, which was a mistake. So that was just a crazy, freaky year for running backs. That still happens. But the recruiting industry in general, they're not ranking running backs as high as they used to.
Yeah.
Just how it is. And because you have to base that on something, because you're comparing players in different states, players in different levels of football, different positions. So what you do is you assign a position value. Well, how do you do that? I think nowadays you probably come up with a good college algorithm to determine a college projection in addition to a long-term projection, but you still use NFL draft data, and boy, NFL aren't drafting running backs high. You're not going to. Period. I mean, it's the whole thing of when you're splitting hairs like that, will a left tackle be ranked above a right tackle if you project? Yeah, sure. Will a corner always normally be ranked above a safety? Yes, if they're kind of equal talent. Your top corner is normally not at your top safety. Sometimes your top corner becomes your top safety, or vice versa. Yes, because Eric Berry, who was a stud safety at Tennessee and played for the Chiefs, Tennessee was going to play him at corner. He got there. They move him to safety. They're like, that's your natural position. And it's safety ever since. But could he have played corner? Absolutely. Guards and centers are never going to be ahead of tackles. And unfortunately, running back has been that way. But there are outliers. I mean, you get a guy that's just a dynamite player, then you're probably going to rank him high. But Clint, to your point too, though, all that recruiting gobbledygook aside, I haven't seen anybody like pick a guy, Darren McFadden, in a while. Right. Have you, Phil? I haven't seen a Darren McFadden out there, or like Marcus Lattimore, when Georgia is hitting the portal for a running back, like they did with ETN, and he's their best back. Yeah. Dude, I come from a land down under. No, I come from the 1980s. And I go with Georgia running backs, I go back to like there was Herschel, there was Rodney Hampton, there was a guy named Lars Tate, because I remember Larry Munson, I catch him on the radio, Lars Tate in the backfield. And dude, Georgia threw Garrison Hurst on up to like Chubb and Michelle. I mean, dude, they're freaking loaded. Todd Gurley and Keith Marshall, the North Carolina duo. So if you look at Georgia and you're like, where's the stud running back? There's probably a shortage. So all that stuff aside, that I mentioned, I think you're onto something, brother. Brother. All right. I guess we're out here for the top of the hour break here on Inside the Gamecocks show. I got my list of PSAs. Don't forget about Gamecock Traditions. Go to GamecockTraditionsOnline.com. Follow them on X. They've always got some pretty good specials and new gear coming in every day. They're good friends of ours at Gamecock Traditions. The Mad Dog and I will be back right after this on Inside the Gamecocks show, sponsored by Electric Bikes at Charleston. Take us out, buddy.
The Aventon Adventure 2 takes the same basic design as the original Aventon Adventure, making it an adventure bike designed to take you places that typical roads just don't reach, allowing you to ride whatever terrain you want based on your whims of the day. Look at what you're getting. Hydraulic disc brakes, torque sensor for responsive pedal assist, great LED lighting, suspension, a beautifully welded frame with excellent build quality, included rear rack, included fenders. The list just keeps going on.
Visit electricbikescharleston.com for more.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Hey Gamecock Nation, my name is Kyle, longtime listener of the show and avid golfer. I wanted to take my game to the next level, but let's face it, golf is a hard game to learn on your own. I heard the ad from McKellar Enterprises and reached out to the owner and former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. In just 2 months of working with Meredith, I shot my lowest round ever and I've never felt more confident in my golf game. So if you're looking to take your game to the next level, go to McKellarEnterprises.org and book your lesson today with former Gamecock golfer Meredith Taylor. Go Gamecocks.
Think about that old ride of yours. The carpools, the road trips, the heavy hauls, date nights, and the dings and the dents and the sticky spills and cracker crumbs, and that smell that really never goes away. Do you really want to start the new year in the same old ride? Or is it time for a fresh start? Now's the time for incredible New Year's savings at Love Chevrolet on the entire lineup of award-winning vehicles. Love has more new Chevys on the lot than any other dealer in the Midlands, in the color, style, features you've been looking for. With New Year's savings and Love's famous low price guarantee, your new ride in 25 will be invigorating, exhilarating, and affordable too. South Carolina's #1 volume Chevy dealer, I-26 at Harbison, and online at lovechevy.com. Together, let's drive.
That's the power of love. Love Chevy.
When you bundle home and auto, good things can happen. You get a local agent who can help you choose the right coverage for you at a price that's right for you.
Call State Farm agent Tony Pope today.
Mike here for my good friend Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. Let's face it, it's been a rough go for mortgage rates the last couple of years. And now more than ever, you need someone on your side to get you the very best possible rate on a new mortgage or a refi. That's where Troy comes in. 27 years of experience working for you. Conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, rehabilitation loans, all doable with my man Troy Branham of Golden Gate Mortgage. And when I say doable, I mean the best possible rate that's out there. It's a phone call that can literally save you thousands of dollars. 803-238-0111. 803-238-0111. You can also check out the website ggmortgage.com.
One brand. Two shows. The morning show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon. And the show from noon until 2 p.m. Go Gamecocks!
That's right. We are back, everybody, inside the Gamecocks, the show. If you didn't catch the morning show this morning, Jamie Bradford had Will Crow on. You may remember, former Gamecocks pitcher, Major League Baseball pitcher, trying to, believe he's rehabbing an injury at the moment, because I know he was playing in the Korean leagues last year until he got hurt. So it was good having Will on. Will make a weekly co-hosting appearance with JB all throughout baseball season, and leading up into it as well. But
great discussion.
Yeah,
Hall of Fame.
I loved it. It was neat. I got plenty of thoughts on that Baseball Writers of America Hall of Fame.
Sure, yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
I said my piece. People, you can go back and listen to the morning show and see. I mean, I said a very brief thing about sports writing in general and how it's evolved, and also how it is a very unfair process to a certain extent. Jameer Gibbs is coming up in that box, and I did want to point out that 2020 class, which is what he was in, that was largely Thomas Brown's work. And he got Marshawn Lloyd, Zaquandre White and Rashad Amos in that class. Rashad Amos, not a kid that was crazy about his recruitment, but boy, the portal's been an adventure for that dude. I think he's at Memphis now, which is good.
If you could be a journeyman in college,
he
would fit that mold. Yeah,
3 different schools after leaving Miami of Ohio, dude. Colorado, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. Ends up at Ole Miss, 4th team. I'm like, wow. But Gibbs was a 3-star to start with. He ended up as the 4th ranked prospect back in that class. Actually, it was ahead of Lloyd. But that was at the end. He was a 3-star guy from Dalton. Dalton, there's not a ton of guys in Northwest Georgia. There's dudes, but you go much past Cartersville up towards Chattanooga, and it's a little lean as far as players go. But you're right. But I just don't know that South Carolina, because that was that year they kind of went through the whole Tank Bigsby thing too, because Tank Bigsby was part of that.
Oh, right.
That cycle as well. I'll never forget when Marshawn committed, because it was my first date with my wife. It was Memorial Day weekend, and she had flown into Atlanta, where I was at the time, and we drove up Nashville, saw Eric Church. It was a blockbuster first date, you know. And I dropped her off at the airport, and this is when I started getting the jinx thing, because I looked up at the sky. It's a nice sunshiny day in Nashville, and I'm flown the Southwest flight to Midway many times. It takes 50 minutes. It's up and down. I was like, oh, it's a nice clear day. You should be home in no time. You'll be home way before me. Little did I know, I didn't check the weather map in Chicago. I think she ended up in Detroit. Like, they had to divert the dang plane to Detroit. I'd already gotten back to Atlanta, taken a shower, put away my laundry, ordered DoorDash. I think I got 5 guys that day. Said hey to Mike Morgan when I walked in. He's out in the yard, and gone downstairs, and was about 50 minutes into a nap by the time she even told me she was in Detroit. So I felt bad that day. Long story short, speaking of diverted, I've gotten off track here. I pulled off to get a Coca-Cola on the way back, because I did have a little hangover. Sometimes that Coke Zero hits pretty good. Right, going from Nashville to Chattanooga down I-24. And I got a call from Keith Allsett. And he's like, Marshawn Lloyd is committed to the Gamecocks. And I was like, wow. I didn't expect that. And that was when Tank Bigsby, the infamous Tank Bigsby commit video with everything. The year was 2019. It was the class of 2020. And so I kind of wish, maybe look back on, they would have, I guess maybe not, maybe Tank didn't last that long. I mean, there are a lot of reasons Tank ended up at Auburn. Maybe you don't go on Zaquandre White later, and maybe you just, because they didn't know Kevin Harris and Deshaun Fenwick were going to end up being good. Because you remember that next year, Zaquandre ended up redshirt. He needed a year to get better, and he ended up being pretty good. And then Marshawn blew out his knee in the first game, and then right. Amos was supposed to kind of come along slow, and so it ended up being Kevin Harris and Fenwick, and that was one of the best rushing attacks they've ever had. Nobody really played defense that year. Mike Bowe was good at calling run plays. So they didn't really know what they had, so they were wanting running backs. But do I maybe wish, hey, Gibbs would have been the guy? I mean, that would have been a heck of an eval. But, with what Thomas Brown's done since he's left, and kind of the impact he had his first year at 1 year at Carolina, because same as one about Marshawn Lloyd, and I do think it was kind of sad the way he left, and I think somebody that had abandoned their school. I'm thinking of the movie There Will Be Blood. I've abandoned my child. Daniel Day-Lewis. Right. No, I think somebody's parent kind of got in his ear, that's from up that way. And hey, it worked out for him. He got to run against no defense and got drafted and paid. So, but Marshawn Lloyd, the point is, beginning of 2022, he was the reason Carolina won some of those games. If it weren't for Lloyd was great against A&M that night. I mean, just really, really good.
Right.
Special even. And then he got hurt, unfortunately, against Missouri, and that's what happened. But nevertheless, I think Thomas Brown served his purpose, but I will also tell you, Clint, Jameer ended up signing with Georgia Tech. I think he was there for the taking for a program like South Carolina. And I'll give him more piece of credit while we're talking about Jameer Gibbs, because I do think he may be one of the best running back, or the best running back in the NFL right now. Charles Power, my man, who works for a competing network now, great friend of mine from South Carolina, does a lot of good talent evaluations. He called that. I mean, I can't take credit totally for being high on Gibbs, because Power also was one of those guys. Probably the best rankings team I was ever a part of was me, Jerry Hamilton, Charles Power, and Barton Simmons, who's now general manager at Vanderbilt. And Barton, the three of us, Jerry, Charles, and I were like-minded. Barton kind of was the not the contrary guy, but he looked at it from a different standpoint. So the mix was really good, because you had a guy that you have guys that are kind of like-minded that were really good at finding talent. But then you had another guy who could blend everything in. I mean, especially offensive lineman. Barton was great. God, I don't miss the workload that came with those days, as far as just the incessant grind and the overwhelming amount of players you have to keep up with.
Yes.
But I love doing it, and I love talking about it. I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of it. And, if everything fell apart and I had to go back and do that again, I'd enjoy the hell out of it again. Right. But that was kind of cool right there. Clint said all you had to do was watch 3 minutes of film on Gibbs. And yeah, it was obvious. Footwork, balance, acceleration, all those things were great about Jameer Gibbs. And I thought it was a little sad he left Georgia Tech and went to go to Alabama, but he was going to get in the portal. And he had a big year at Alabama. So that was good. But yeah, all that to answer the question. Yes, no running backs are not high valued these days. I was during the break, I was thinking about Clemson, after Maffa, and they do have a back coming in that I like, Gideon Davidson, who I think will make a lot of plays. But you think about the run that program's had. I mean, I'm trying to think of when they did not really have a really good running back kind of in the history. And I had to go back to like 2010 when it was Harper. Jamie Harper was their running back. But he was a 5-star prospect. Really just started 1 year. Wasn't as good as you thought he'd be. And then that was the last time Clemson's had a losing record as well. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think South Carolina's running back situation, Phil, though, it's good. That's why I love Jawarren Howell.
Right.
Because he is running. And look, some athletes may not want to play that position, right?
Well, that's what I think too, is that there is a draw away from it. Yeah, just because of how it is used beyond that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm with you though. I think as we look at the potential Gamecocks backfield there, I'm happy with Jawarren Howell. I like Oscar Attaway. I mean, it's not like you need to. I was never one thinking as they came into the offseason that, it's like, oh, you got to go get another Rocket Sanders. I was like, you continue to develop these guys and he may already be here.
Yeah, we may as well tell them to go get a unicorn.
Yeah, right.
Or a dragon. Or a dragon. And not a Komodo dragon. Not to go Joe Rogan.
Get the big blue
not to go Joe Rogan or anything here, but have you ever seen like Komodo, how like nasty and what kind of killers those things are?
Yeah, it's bad.
Yo, dude. Yeah. I'm like,
And
I
their
saw
saliva
one-
is like, poison, too. So
I used to
infested with
make fun of
disease.
Komodo dragons because of that movie, The Freshman, with Marlon Brando and Matthew.
Yes.
Remember those? They were cooking a Komodo dragon.
Right.
Here, and then they sung a song. Here he comes, your Komodo dragon. So I was kind of, I never thought about it. I love watching nature videos.
Yeah.
And I saw one devour a live wild hog. I was like, ooh,
whoa,
that thing's nasty. But no, so not Komodo dragons, but you may as well believe in dragons because there's not another Rocket Sanders out there.
No. And I'm with you too, Clint, man. I love seeing that running back. I love it. A big guy that can, wear out a defense, and just start racking up yards in the fourth quarter. It's just that I don't think that the athletes that you were getting drawn to that position these days, I think they're going to other positions, and that's where that comes from.
Which is a little strange because build wise, I mean, you think of running backs, Phil. What else could they're build wise, they're linebackers.
Yeah, linebackers,
if you stay
tall, you could be a safety
or a receiver, thinner, you could be a receiver. So it may be that they're not wanting to go in that position, or they just play another sport if that's what they are.
Yeah, and I don't know how much JC now, like some of these like below high school level are trying to push athletes like that into the quarterback position. I mean, everybody wants to be quarterback when you're playing peewee or whatever, but there are the developmental leagues underneath that might be pushing that kind of athlete to, be the signal caller.
In some cases, yeah, but then there's some running backs that are 5'9", 220
that can't do that, right?
But there's not a position for them other than run. But a guy that's 5'9", 220 that's built like a brick poop house, that's got great acceleration, quick feet, balance, and hands, can do some dang damage.
Yeah,
tackling those dudes it sucks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's about leverage. So I'm with all y'all. I love running back, and it used to be. That was a glamour position, when you kind of came up through school. You're like, there's a kid on my stepson's high school team, and then we'll get off this because we've talked a long time about it. And you didn't hijack anything, Clint. It's fine.
No, you're good. That's what it's organic.
There's a kid on high school team, so this dude, they get to the playoffs, right? And they're playing a team much more talented than they are, which was not a surprise. No, it was the last game of the year trying to get to the playoffs. Didn't make the playoffs anyway. But so we go to Homewood Flossmoor, Illinois, and it was senior night, and it was cold. Not as cold as it is now. I shouldn't have complained, but I did. But the senior night was taking forever. The damn game didn't start till 8:05, and I'm like, hey, stepson doesn't get to play, so I'm already in a bad mood because we're not going to see him play anyway, unless it's just a teetotal butt kicking. And so usually I'm pulling for that one where they don't tell the moms on the team. And so I'm sitting there watching this team, and they're down 2 running backs, and the third one gets hurt. So they put a kid that had been playing linebacker all year there, and he ran slap through and over these guys.
Right.
It was one of the most impressive dang things. They got down 21-3 and then rallied and won 49-42 in like one of the best high school games I've ever seen. And the other team could not stop this guy. Could not stop him. And I asked Cole, I was like, the Moose, I was like, well, they're stupid for not playing him at running back. He's better than everybody you got. Well, he just doesn't want to play running back. He wants to be a linebacker, and his parents want to be a linebacker. So he's probably just going to stay a linebacker. There you go. There's an anecdotal example of
there's one
shying away from the running back position. So, Craig says
I always wanted to be a linebacker. That was my thing.
I played some linebacker. 8th grade, toward the end of the year, I played linebacker. Stood up and played.
It's always the one I wanted to do.
It's a very physical position.
Right.
Clint asked JC, "What are your thoughts on Trey Aiken at Clint?" I think he'd be a sneaky good interior guy. Yeah, he's kind of like Blake Franks, and then like a guy that not a lot of people are talking about, but he's huge. and athletic. I think the Gamecocks are in really good shape. He told Hale he's going to take some visits and then commit someone. But I like Carolina's chances with him. I really do, and he's a big dude. The state, weirdly enough, in D-line heaven, Phil, there are a bunch of good offensive linemen this cycle.
We're starting to grow some O-linemen here.
Yeah, usually the state's light on it, but the state's kind of on a heater with O-linemen if you think about it.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, you went from the Marquis Anderson class where he was one of the top prospect in the state. Then you get Pringle and Thompson and Franks, and now you know, and then this year Surratt from Gaffney is really good, and you know, then in 2026 there's a bunch. I mean, a lot, and they already got one committed in Baxter from Rock Hill, so it's encouraging, in my opinion. It's encouraging.
For sure.
If you're looking for the offense, Gamecocks to stack offensive linemen, it's encouraging. But yeah, I like him a lot. I think that's it. Bruin mentions at running back Matthew Fuller is that guy.
Yeah, I should have mentioned him earlier when I was running down the three here, because I'm also very impressed and looking forward to see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm basing my opinion on him, and it's just an opinion, guys. I maybe, who knows? I'm arrogant right now because of my Norris Summers takes. Right, that didn't look so hot until, well, really for a long time, but look really good now.
Until
anyway.
It did, yeah.
That's why I always say patience. You know, football progress in football, you know, can happen quickly and it happens over time. But I'm basing this on high school film, the improvement he made from junior year to senior year at the high school level. So in recruiting, I heard that said, well, you know, and he played for Jay Bobaugh, Connor's brother down there. The Gamecocks had a nice in on the kid in South Georgia. But I was told by some folks that work in the state that cover recruiting that this guy, if it were the old way where everybody started filling out their class in January and it was Flip City, there was more flips than the International House of Pancakes back then. Nah. Anyway, or McDonald's.
I don't know if
Anyway.
they flip the burgers now. I think they got a machine that cooks both sides at the same time. They have a machine.
It cooks both sides.
Yeah.
And they did in the 90s too when I worked there.
The lost art of burger flipping.
I should have just. I like to watch that movie, The Founder, with Michael Keaton. Is really good about Ray Kroc, who stole it from I don't know, it did steal it from McDonald's, and he's the one that made McDonald's what McDonald's is. But the actual McDonald's out there in California had a hamburger stand and knew how to make them really fast. So anyway, that they flip them there, you know, I think, pretty sure. So anyway, you know, there were more flips than ever, but had it been back to the normal way, I think Carolina would have been, I'm not saying they wouldn't have held on to him. There would have been some challenges because he was that type of senior riser. So I'm basing it on that high school film and 8 carries against Akron. So not a very well-sourced argument or opinion here, basing it on a small sample size. But what I liked in the Akron game with Fuller, man, he fell. Whereas, because South Carolina, you know, they won 50-7 and running up on those dudes. They didn't block very well that game for the running backs. I didn't think. Go look at Oscar Attaway because, you know, Rocket went out first. They didn't block that well. No, so I didn't. And whereas some other guys would get thrown for a loss or whatever, Fuller ran physical enough to fall forward, ended up with 8 carries for 25 yards. A lot of those chunker plays were him just getting it himself. And then a couple of times where you saw how fast he was on the sweep or whatever, it's fast enough. I mean, you know, he and Howell complement each other pretty well. So I'm with you. I think Bruin. I think Matthew Fuller. I mean, he's one to really watch. You know, maybe it won't be in 2025. Maybe it will. But you know, here's another interesting factoid. That I guess I guess I knew this because I've compared him to Derek Watson, and that's build wise and all. Jawarn Howell is 6'1", 217. He'll probably play 220 next year. That's not a small running back.
No,
to be as fast as he is. We'll forgive him for the fumble in the bowl game. That was disappointing, but I mean, he only carried it 6 times in the bowl, 32 yards, over 5 yards a carry. And he had some holes. I didn't think the offensive line was what we call stellar in the bowl game, but it was actually not. It was average. They did open some holes at times and pass protected well. So anyway, Clint says, hopefully Fuller emerges. I wasn't as big on his other word. Be glad to prove it wrong there. What didn't you like about him? I'd be an argumentative. I'm like curious to know. Because maybe you're seeing something I'm not, Clint. I'm not seriously, I'm not saying you're wrong.
No, because you have thoughtful insight into recruiting and things like that. Evals, Clint. So yeah, why aren't you full high on him?
You remember Ty Evans, who went to Tennessee and for a minute was from South Carolina, did pretty good out of JUCO, and then left, and we haven't heard much from him since. I don't think. Where is Evans? He went to Louisville for a while. But he played for Hartsville, and North Augusta played them in the playoffs. It's 38 degrees and raining, and this kid didn't want to hit Evans anymore in the second half. Just didn't want to hit him. I don't blame you, dude. That guy was a little ball of hate.
A little ball of hate. I love it.
And I don't mean about anything off the field, just on the field. A little ball of hate, Hey, who else was? We talked about Thomas Brown earlier. Thomas Brown was 5'9", 195. Nothing but muscle at Georgia. I think a guy named Danny Ware, who was like a 230-pound physical dude, like he was scary too. They played at the same time, man, and they would just, we look at teams and defenses having problems tackling guys now. If these dudes played now, I don't even know how you would stop those guys.
No,
it's almost like about around 17. So after Nick Chubb and Sonny Michel, that it's the whole big, powerful running back thing is kind of. I mean, Judkins and Henderson are good backs for Ohio State. Notre Dame's got good backs, but like Jeremiah Love is probably their best back. He doesn't get very many carries. It's weird. This is a good topic today, by the way.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, spark.
Krager's son's 5'9", 145.
Doing much either.
Not doing much. Clintus wasn't big on Dodd last year. I wasn't either. Mine changed watching him film and see him in person. Yeah, I think he's all upside with that. Like Charles did rate him a 4-star. I think they're the ones that had him 4 stars. I probably wouldn't have gone there. Probably would have high 3. And that's just me. Clint says he doesn't think Fuller's bad, just didn't jump off the screen to me. He's big on Benjamin Hall that went to Michigan, but think he was wrong there. Yeah, Ben Hall, I think based on junior film, I'm with you. But then what Fuller did as a senior, he kind of took a step and had a little more wiggle than Hall. I don't know. I have to go back and watch. It's a great discussion, though. It's a great discussion. Anyway, I know we got some women's basketball fans in our audience, and it's disappointing to me because I'll tune the games in sometimes if the women's basketball team blows everybody out, so it gets boring sometimes for me.
Yeah, right.
I always watch that LSU game, right? 2 powerhouses, but for those that missed it earlier, that game is now moved to Friday at 5:00 Eastern, 4:00. Those of you that are in Central, Queen of the Cox is in Missouri, so throw him a solid 4:00 your time. And it's going to be on ESPN still, but College Game Day is not coming, so that's canceled.
Yeah, they'll be back, I'm sure, but yeah, it sucks not having.
Like I said, it won't be the last time they're in for a women's basketball game. I don't think, but the men do play tonight. If you can't get to the arena, don't want to listen to Derek Scott. That came out wrong. That came out way wrong.
You've got
I'm
two
sorry,
great
no,
options to
that's
listen.
not what I
or,
meant.
Yeah,
No,
that's
yeah,
right.
that's not. I was
You
like,
got
don't want to
two
listen.
great
I was thinking of something else, and it came out way wrong. No, you because I do listen to Derek Scott when I'm watching it on TV. I was gonna say, if you prefer not to listen on the radio and follow it on TV, like i.e., if you're streaming and can't sync it up and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Oh God. Derek, if you're listening, man, we love you. Dude,
No, listen,
that
Derek,
sounded
you've been getting me through these games, man, because I'm having to listen to home calls because I can't watch the product on TV.
yeah. Some butt munch will clip that and send it to me.
Look at what JC said about you, man. I love Twitter. I'm just so TikTok got banned that I'm gonna go.
Anyway,
I love it.
So Mike Morgan, by the way, but my whole point of saying that was Mike Morgan's calling it for the SEC Network. You know, we love Mike Morgan around here, and we love Derek Scott too. Don't get me wrong, but Mike Morgan's going to be on the call for ESPN SEC Network tonight. All right, we're going to hit our final break on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. If you want golf lessons, want to get good at golf during this winter time, so you can impress your buddies when it gets to be golfing season again in South Carolina. It's right down the corner. McKellar Enterprises. Meredith McKellar, former Gamecock, first sponsors the guest line, and she has gift cards available. Give the gift of golf. Be sure to take advantage of Meredith's services. We've had many listeners to the show and our shows here that have gotten better at golf because of her. So we'll be right back after these messages on Inside the Gamecocks, the show presented by Right to Beer. We're back after these messages.
Charleston Fitness Equipment is keeping South Carolina in shape. Clients have come from all over the Palmetto State to find that one piece of equipment that they enjoy that keeps them looking and feeling good. Whether it's a home rower, treadmill, elliptical, free weights, a home gym, or something else, Charleston Fitness Equipment keeps the mirror smiling back at you. Get in shape like the Gamecocks do. Visit charlestonfitnessequipment.com. Gamecock owned and operated and proud partners of Inside the Gamecocks, the show.
Nanas Porch presents a Southern staple delivered right to your doorstep. Nanas Porch locally crafted pimento cheese has been a hit for years at weddings, tailgates, and other events. Now you can order online and have it sent to your home. Visit nanasporch.com. That's nanasporch.com and click the pimento cheese tab to choose between their original pimento cheese and their jalapeno smoked pimento cheese set. nanasporch.com. Man, that's good.
Fans, Club Chief has arrived. Become a Big Chief Club member or a Big Chief Club Golden Gear member for exclusive access to our Nanas Porch Chat Box on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. Plus, you'll get access to our VIP tailgates, prize drawings, merch, and much more. A portion of your monthly membership goes to the Garnet Trust, supporting NIL at the University of South Carolina. Pull up your Chief Sports app and join on the home page. Thank you so much for being a member of Club Chief, and we look forward to meeting many of you very soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, here it is.
One brand. Two shows. The morning show. Weekdays from 10 a.m. until noon. And the show from noon until 2 p.m. Go Gamecocks!
Welcome back, everybody. Final segment of Inside the Gamecocks, the show with Phil Mullinax here and JC Shurburtt. I would imagine it's time to talk a little bit of basketball. We got Florida Gators coming into the CLA tonight at 7 o'clock for a 7 o'clock tip. Like JC said, we got Derek Scott always on the radio. Love that. With Casey, it's always the best. Those two, they got great rapport on the radio. And of course, Mike Morgan on the TV side will be calling it. So if you want a bit of that old school flair with Mike calling a basketball game for the Gamecocks, it'll be there for you as well. Man, JC, Florida, that's a tough team to try to pull a team together and get a win against, man. They go fast, they shoot the ball well. It's everything you don't want to get caught up in from trying to find your first conference win standpoint here, because they're good, man.
I know. I was on the other show. I'm just not confident about this one. This is one that scared me, but Auburn was doing the first one.
Yeah.
There may be a crowd tonight that's good. Students are back, obviously. It's just one thing after another. This season, something has to happen, Phil, for it to get on track.
Yeah.
And things keep happening this way, I didn't even really contemplate till we had Derek on the other day, the fact that, with the schedule, it sent 2 top 5 teams in here when school was out, right? In early January, right off the bat. It's affecting the crowd and that's everywhere when your students aren't there. Basketball, I still think they start the season too damn early, and nobody outside of the Big East and Duke cares.
Right.
Until,
That's right. And some
until
Big 12
later.
schools. I mean, looking at you, Kansas, but yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Kansas, it does start too damn early, though. I mean,
Kansas played North Carolina at home the night before the Vandy Carolina football game. The wife and I were going to go we went to see the Patrick Davis thing, and we were pre-gaming at this bar right near Vandy, and it happened to be the Kansas Jayhawk watch party for Hoops. It's one of the best basketball games I've ever seen, especially in November. 92-89, they get into it. But that's Kansas. That's where college basketball, Dr. James Naismith invented the game in Kansas City. They should care. Nobody else does. And guess what? What's better served? Let Kansas, North Carolina tip it off November 15th like it was. Or actually, that was the week before. November 7th, for God's sake. If you want to start that early, let everybody else start on the week before Thanksgiving like normal people.
Yeah. Right. Like
nobody cares about the NBA in October either. Nobody cares about the NBA until like March.
Well, to be honest, not very many people care about the NBA in general these days.
You know who does, though? It's weird. My stepson.
Really?
He loves basketball, and he plays fantasy NBA basketball, though.
Oh, I tried that.
And
I
with
tried
his buddies.
that 1 year.
I couldn't keep up with it.
I can't follow it. Yeah, I don't know enough.
I don't care enough about it.
No.
But, so, I mean, I still think it starts too early and all that. But, so there's been a lot working against this team. And I kind of broke it down, I think, on the website. I think I talked about it on coffee, even here. Yes, I think I talked about this yesterday. And Whittle brought it up. Lots happened with this team besides the beatings and the losses,
which will continue until
morale improves. What's happened with this team? Okay, so let's kind of break this. So it's one of those things that happens sometimes in sports, and then you got to go back and as a coach and assistant coaches and whoever, you got to kind of try to go pinpoint why, if there is a why, right? So here are the whys. Why didn't Zach Davis take a step forward this year? And then the second why is he taking a step back? Because they were counting on him this offseason. I know this for a fact. I mean, they thought he could end up being all SEC.
Yeah, I mean, from what you were hearing, I mean, he was there. He was going to stretch the floor. He was going to continue to play defense, yeah.
Based on the jump he's made in his career, his size, his athleticism, the fact that his shot wasn't what I would call terrible last year. We'd all sit around and gripe about him shooting too many threes. They only hit one. This year, he's not hitting any of them. Hardly at all. He's had some nice games here and there, but his defense, which is what he's really good at, has gone crap in many ways. So there's one piece they were counting on. Cam Scott, say what you want about him not being ready, people being patient. This is not what they were expecting. They expected him to come in, start, and be stud like he was rated. And it's a mystery as to why he's not. They didn't expect that. Okay. So with Thomas, the point guard, the expectation there was they knew they were getting. He would just be dynamite on defense, a great defender. They would lose some of Talon Cooper's not basketball IQ, but more like passing ability. Not an elite passer, no matter how you sliced it. Did they expect him to be from Venus while they're very Martian basketball team? No. And that's been an out of control problem. They kind of expected a little more from Nick Pringle. There's another guy. The guys that have, and then Jacoby right now is just not playing very well. He's not playing as well as he has. Yeah. Now his ceiling is low. I mean, he kind of is what he is at this point, but he's fallen off. I don't know if that's trying to do too much or what. Morris Ugasuk, great story. He's improved, but for the team this year at his age, role player. Same with Arden Conyers. So you're looking at like 4 or 5 things that have happened, Phil, with these guys that were totally unexpected. And Miles Studi, with the exception of the Clemson game, had been more like Miles Studi is kind of what I call a desert player. That sounds a little harsh. Where you go. So their game is like desert, like it's desert. Boom, there's cacti. There you go. You go along a little further. There's more cacti, and what you want is more the cacti, right? You don't want the sand.
More cacti, less sand,
and the rattlesnakes. There haven't been a lot of cacti this year, except Clemson, where he was good and on. And I mean, and we know he's a streaky shooter. That's what they expected. Again, they weren't really looking at I'm stunned. All right, so the starting 5 really should have been Colin Murray Boyles and Nick Pringle, Zach Davis as an improved player, Cam Scott as a hot shot freshman, and then Thomas running the show, in a way that doesn't hurt him. Which he's capable of doing. And then off the bench, you're supposed to bring Wright and Studi as your veteran role players. Then you've got Arden Conyers and Ugasuk, and I'm already down to the 9th guy. And then 10 is Bosmans Verdonk, but Fira Oko, the other Norwegian, or Finn, he had immigration problems and hadn't been able to get in.
That's crazy.
And he's the other big. So he's not even there. So 10, you're either expecting him or Bosmans Verdonk. And then Jordan Butler's like 11th guy because he's a 7-foot stretch guy. And it's going to take some time to kind of be able to use him effectively. He was never intended to be the third post player, and get in there and board with everybody. I mean, you knew what you were getting. And none of this happening. None of this has happened. So the question has to become why. And the answer is going to be player by player by player by player. There's going to be 10. There's 10 players listed here. I wrote down there'll be 10 different answers. So that's the deal there. I think that that's the thing. Clint says only so many role players without a good point guard. Well, they thought they were getting one in Thomas. And Cam Scott was kind of supposed to be the other guy that played point because he's capable and long term. They think that may be what he was going to be. And then Jacoby Wright's your role player. See, and it didn't happen. It didn't happen that way, did it?
Yeah.
So this team's been
thrust, your role players into these starting spots, and you could tell first couple of games, like Ugasuk, as much as he's stepped up, actually, I think, and has done as good as he can, being thrust into that position, was just not used to the minutes. Like you could tell his ass was tired.
Well, yeah, he's gone. His play, he's improved his level of play. But other people have either stayed the same or gone down.
Yeah.
Colin Murray Bulls
Mhm.
is better than last year.
Yeah,
But
it's
he's
hard to
the one
see.
guy.
Yeah.
When teams are like, we're going to stop him no matter what and let everybody else beat you. Or if he gets in foul trouble and you got to bring in Bosmans for dunk, I mean, he's gets rebounds and toys with your emotions because he's good at rebounding sometimes, right place, right time, and then he'll brick a layup or put the ball on the floor.
Yeah.
I talked about all this yesterday.
Yeah.
Clint says nobody looks comfortable handling the ball. Amen. Amen, sir. Amen. So that deal there. Queen of the Cox says, thanks for the game time shout out, JC. These time zone changes always get me. I was stationed in Washington State 2 years ago, and it really sucked. Gamecocks come on at 9 a.m. a lot of times. I've been in Las Vegas before for a 9 a.m. Gamecock kickoff or two.
So Vegas is
not
Pacific
bad.
time?
Pacific. Now Phoenix goes back and forth. Like it's basically always the same time in Phoenix, but then everybody else, like some years they're in Mountain and some years, like some part of the year they're in Mountain, part of the year they're in Pacific. Yeah. But
Mountain
Vegas
time
is Pacific time.
Worst time zone. Worst American time zone. Mountain time. It's awful.
Let's just do it. Let's do away with it, Phil.
Yeah. Let's get rid of it.
Send that to the president and for the list. Send that to Elon Musk. let's tweet at Elon Musk and say, hey,
listen.
We want to do away with the Mountain time zone. And he's like, oh no, you're right. Let's just abolish it.
What's wild is being on that western edge of the central time zone, like in the summertime, and the sun is out until like 10:30 local time.
Like Antarctica.
Because you're at the frontier there. It's like, whoa.
I've lived in two cities that are in central, this one and Nashville, and they're both, it works the opposite way because it gets dark at 4:30 here.
Mhm.
In that it's very close to the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
Like Nashville, it's about an hour and a half west on 40 going towards Knoxville. And then here, you go over to the only part of Indiana in central is the extreme northwest, like Gary and Crown Point. And
yeah, so it can be on the same time as Chicago.
I don't know. West Lafayette, maybe the cutoff. I don't know if that's in central or not, but the rest of that state's in Eastern. So that's the deal there. Clint says if we can rename the Gulf of Mexico, we can get rid of the Mountain times.
Seems easy to do. Why not?
Yeah, piss everybody off in Big Sky country. They're like, Bud's Bergen, deer.
I was in Denver. That's what makes me say it, because I've been to Denver and it's like you're 2 hours off of Eastern. Like I have, you're an hour ahead of Pacific, because a lot of things that run live, right, will replay 3 hours later in the exact same time on the Pacific side. That way, Jeopardy at 7:30 over here will play at 7:30 over there. And then what was weird is some networks will just be like, oh, we'll just show Jeopardy at 5:30 in Mountain Time, and then other networks will be like, no, we're going to show it at the regular time. It'd be 8:30 Mountain Time when it shows on 7:30. And it was just too freaking confusing. All of that. Like, and nobody followed what it was I said there. You know why? Because that's what that freaking time zone is like. Nobody can work in it.
Yeah. I don't know how people survived.
Yeah. It's 2 hours off of here, 1 hour ahead of the other one. And, maybe there should
That's
just
why
be 3.
Denver's so laid back. It's just like people can't lose track of time because they don't know.
Yeah, among
just
other
don't
things.
know. So, anyway, yeah, I think all that's pretty interesting. But I've gone to Phoenix before where I haven't known if it's Mountain or Pacific. Just straight up lost track. Just what time is it? I don't know.
Right.
It's
I went before
around
the
3.
whole phone thing, where the phone, senses where you are and will adjust your time automatically to where you are. So it's like you're having to reset a watch.
Oh God, yeah. Oh man, that's something else. But yeah, so anyway, no problem. Queen of the Cocks. I have to think about that too, and it's weird because sometimes you'll look on ESPN.com updates their schedule to what time it is where you're at. So if the Gamecocks are playing at 4 o'clock Friday against LSU, it says 4 o'clock. But others just keep it at Eastern. They don't care. And then I have to think about it because my audience is and on Big Spur and here, they're primarily in the Eastern time zone, right? So I can't say, it's about 4. And I guess I've been kind of hardwired that working in Nashville at Rivals 24/7. You were distinctly aware of it. And you also, like I said, you're also close to Eastern time. So we were never, it was not come to work at 9. We were at work by 8, but we were off by 4. According to like the bare minimum. I mean, you work at a startup, dude. You're there 7 to 8.
Yeah, there's no real cutoff time.
It was crazy. Startup. Yeah, you're never off. You're never really off. But never off. So, but anyway, yeah, that game's and postponed. The women's basketball game postponed until against LSU. Postponed until 5 p.m. Eastern. ESPN will still televise it, but no college game day. So, Phil, gonna leave you with this. It's a high earned congratulations because the Washington Commanders are going to the Redskins. Whatever we want to call them.
Whatever.
Are going to the hail to the are going to the NFC championship game, dude.
I know.
And playing a division rival. How about Cliff Kingsbury and that offense? And
dude,
I mean, that's something else.
I texted JB in the middle of the game there because he hit me up. He was like, I can't believe what is happening. I'm like, I can't either, but I'm like, dude, Cliff Kingsbury was in his bag the other night, like, and not in that whole way Detroit was and calling crazy, trick plays and things like that. Kingsbury had 2 formations roll out there that looked like they came right out of Josh Heupel's playbook. It was 2 wide outs, offset outside the numbers on either side, and then the tighter formation inside the middle. And what did he do? Just like Heupel has been effective with it, ran the ball, spread them out and run the damn ball. And it was, man, I mean, it's been interesting. I think that it's the perfect marriage, right, between the quarterback that you have and the athleticism and talent that he has and the way that the coordinator likes to run his offense. And that has just been this year the perfect marriage. I don't think Jaden Daniels would be as successful as he has been under other OCs across the NFL. And I don't know if Cliff Kingsbury could run his offense without some sort of super athletic quarterback who's, going to be able to that can not only run the ball, but make the throws. And it's just been awesome. It's been fun.
Yeah, I mean,
feel like a kid again. I feel like I'm 11 again,
I know. Back in the day, they're pretty good. I'll say this about Kingsbury. Josh Heupel probably uses things from Cliff Kingsbury's playbook.
Right, yeah.
Because Cliff Kingsbury uses things from Mike Leach and Art Briles, and it's all the same. Only the names will change, Phil. I mean, no, it probably is kind of the same, and maybe Heupel did come up with it. Maybe he didn't. I don't know.
Maybe he didn't. Yeah, who knows? Right? Yeah.
I think Heupel played for Mike Leach at Oklahoma in '99, and it all kind of, and so did Cliff Kingsbury at Texas Tech. So it's just one of those things. It is very interesting when you start talking about what works in football sometimes and creativity. I think we saw a study in that game of controlled creativity.
Yeah.
Like you
versus
mentioned,
cute. Versus getting cute. Yeah.
Versus getting too damn cute.
That's right. Yeah, it was creative versus cute. Yep.
Well, now here comes Ben Johnson to Chicago. I'm going to say this. I'm not, I know he was the most coveted guy. I'm not convinced this was going to work out. And it's for the reasons I'm just telling you. and a head coach for the first time, and you got to worry about defense, and you got a franchise that doesn't like to spend money, and you got a quarterback that and a G, there's just a lot there. It was funny because Bears fans were acting like, Gamecock fans would have acted if they'd have gotten the hot name, the Tom Herman, if they'd have hired Tom Herman.
Right.
I still think Tom Herman would have probably won at South Carolina. Just against all reality that's happened since. But because he won at Texas, he took FAU. Lane Kiffin had a 2-10 year at FAU one time. I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know if he had too many losing years, but but they got their guy after interviewing 45 people and announcing it publicly. And what that tells me, I think it was Ben Johnson the whole time.
Yeah, it probably.
But Ben Johnson got his ass handed to him by Coach Handsome.
Yeah,
that's what we used to call him, Coach Handsome.
Coach Handsome. That and old Grizzly Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn.
With his
players
that are familiar with his defense,
is a good coach. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, like the Falcons are so dumb sometimes. It's like, okay, like they fired, and it's because of history, right? So they fire Dan Reeves, like the pimp daddy Arthur Blank fires Dan Reeves, right? After Dan Reeves was the only coach in the history of Michael Vick's pro career that knew what the hell to do with Michael Vick. And what he did was he basically ran the John Elway 2-minute offense all the time.
Right.
If you ever watched the Broncos when Reeves was coaching John Elway 2-minute offense, they would usually score. Dan Reeves was master at that. Just a great play caller. But but Vick got hurt. They had a bad season. They fired him. They hired Jim Moore Jr., who tries to run the stupid I don't know what's the stupid West Coast with him. It didn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, they had some limited good teams. So then they have Mike Smith. Mike Smith comes in. He takes them all the way to the NFC Championship game at home, and Harbaugh and the 49ers come back and cut him after they blew a lead. So Dan Quinn comes in 8-8, 11-5, and got to the Super Bowl, and then they get 10-6 and make the playoffs. Well, they had a couple of years, and then 5 games into the pandemic here, they fired him. Should they have stuck with him? I don't know. Maybe the people were tuning him out, but I didn't think they should have hired Smith, and it worked out when they hired Quinn. So then they go to Arthur Smith, who sucked, and then made an atrocious hire with Raheem Morris. I mean, if you're going to fire people and upgrade, dadgummit, upgrade.
Yeah, right. If you're going to get rid of somebody, get somebody better.
Get somebody better. Dude, don't go hire Arthur Smith or recycle Raheem Morris. Are you crazy? What are you? And then hey, and their GM is dumb. He's a dumb person because it's like not because he drafted Michael Penix, because thank God he did.
Yeah.
But because they wasted how many $1 million on dude Kirk Cousins?
I don't know.
I mean,
all I know is that was Washington's fault that people are having to drag around that giant contract.
The carcass
it's
of
all guaranteed. It's
Kirk
terrible.
Cousins.
It's terrible.
The damn Vikings got rid of Kirk Cousins, drafted a quarterback in the first round who was going to start. He gets hurt. Sam Darnold takes over and goes 14-2. You tell me, Kirk Cousins, that's your plan to win a Super Bowl. And everybody talks about how much talent they have.
Right.
And it's like, well, Kirk Cousins, that's our answer.
Yeah. You know what we need?
But we're going to draft Michael
Cousins.
Thank God he drafted Michael Penix, because all hope would be lost.
Well, here's the thing: is like Michael Penix was not probably the top of the heap when it came for that draft class in quarterbacks last year. But if you were to put him out this year in this class, he'd probably be number 1. So you did better getting one then than you would have getting one this year, in my opinion.
I just think they make terrible decisions. But this may be a terrible decision they made at the time.
Right, man.
That will end up getting them, win some games. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right, it's time to go. Here on Inside the Gamecocks, the show. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't forget Inside the Gamecocks, the morning show from 10 to noon with Jamie Bafford and friends. Don't forget coffee in the morning. Download the Chief Sports app. Thanks to all our sponsors, including Gamecock Traditions, Resto Pros of the Midlands, Tony Pope, State Farm, Right to Bear, McKellar Enterprises, the Electric Bikes of Charleston, and everyone else. Don't forget Mike Morgan's on the call tonight, but Derek Scott is too on the radio. My bad on that. And enjoy the game. If you're going to the game, don't forget to wear black. And who knows? Hopefully we can talk about something positive with basketball tomorrow. But either way, I don't think I'm going to be too emotional about the results. For Phil, this is JC. Get us out of here, Phil. Tell everybody bye.
That's right. Goodbye, everybody. Don't forget, bright and early tomorrow, 10 o'clock, Derek Scott and Ashley Chastain, the softball coach, will make her appearance back, second appearance on the shows tomorrow. That'll be a fun conversation. I know she's fired up about her ladies, even though they open their conference slate at Oklahoma, which, hey, will be an extremely good test because Oklahoma has dominated that sport for well over a decade now. So, but she's excited. She'll fill us in and get us all ready to go. JC and I will be right back here in the saddle at noon to recap what happens at the CLA this evening and look ahead at whatever football recruiting news and, of course, the women's basketball game with Kim Mulkey, the heel of women's college basketball, coming to town and bringing a pretty good squad that recovered well after losing a lot of parts. So we will see you all back here tomorrow at noon.